Yo, 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 what's up? What's good? What's cooking? Hello, welcome once again to the library. It's your boy Isaac Anzu. How many different things can I say? It's here, it's time. We're finally doing it. It's happening on stream today. The 1 in 100% rare poll. It's an SSSR, SSSR, SSS, 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 SSR poll. That's right. I am learning Blender. Today is day one of the Odyssey, Blender's Odyssey, if you will. We're going to embark on an epic journey. We're going to defeat cubic cyclopses and witches that will turn us into texture meshes, and we'll try to evade the siren song of learning shit too quickly and getting completely like sidetracked. But today's gonna be a day, a number one day. So I hope that you have some patience with me. I'm trying out a new screen layout as well, so I can see chat and this YouTube video at the same time. But yes, look at this. The cube. It's the cube. I know about the cube. I even made a thumbnail with the cube in it. So, why don't we get started?
So you've decided to start learning Blender.
I
Well,
have.
you've come to the right place.
Hello.
My name is Joey, I'm a human, and I'll be your guide through this process.
Very
If you
strange
don't know
looking
anything
human.
about Blender, it's a popular free and open source program that
This
people
guy's-
use for a wide variety of
guy's
things
great.
like 3D modeling, 2D and 3D animation, visual effects, sculpting, simulations, and more.
Yeah,
and
let's do
even if you
something like
decide to
that.
learn a different 3D program, Blender can help you learn concepts and skills that are important in other 3D programs
do
as well.
something like
Learning
that,
a new
huh?
skill can be intimidating, but I'm here to point you in the right direction, so
Let's
if you
go.
put in the effort, you'll see amazing results very quickly. This video will give you the power to get started with Blender, and by the time it's over, you will have created this scene. The next one will be about
Whoa.
modeling, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that.
Hold up. Joey Carlino, dude, blowing my mind here. We're gonna get to that scene, and this isn't even about modeling. Okay.
Let's start with downloading Blender. The most straightforward way is by
yes.
going to blender.org and downloading the newest version that's there.
We're gonna watch
You
this
can
just
also
in
download
case.
it from Steam, or you
You
can get
need
the
it.
.bo
I
Blender
already
launcher.
have it
These two methods will make it easier to
installed.
download new Blender versions as they come out. If you'd like to follow
So I have a
along, you can
long
download and
list
install
of
Blender now.
things that
I made
want
this video as
to
concise as I could so that you won't get too bored, and that means that it might be too fast
make
to
in
follow along
Blender.
with in real
A
time.
long
If you
list
learn
of
best by
things.
following along, I recommend pausing the video after I show something.
Yes.
YouTube also lets you change the speed of the video, like this. You can use the arrows to jump forward or backward by 5 seconds, and you can use the comma and the period to go frame by frame. I also added a bunch of chapters, so if you come back to the video later, you can find topics more easily.
See,
and if you
this
check
guy
the
knows
comments,
what's
I
up.
put even more detailed timestamps there. Another YouTube tip is that you can view the video transcript to see everything that was said, and if you hit Control F, you can search for certain words that were mentioned. Keep this in mind when you're watching other YouTube videos, not just this one. If you want help, you can come to my Discord server where I made a channel specifically for helping people, and you can also download a free PDF I made that has a
Nice.
bunch of Blender shortcuts
I
I
mean,
mentioned in the video.
this
Don't
is
worry
cool.
about memorizing everything, because when you practice, you'll be learning through repetition, and if you forget how to do something, you can always come back to this video or check the PDF. I also have my keystrokes being shown down here. Alright, here we are in Blender. I'm using version 3.4, and if you're using a newer version, that's fine. Everything I'm teaching should be the same, and if it isn't, I'll make a pinned comment about it. Let's talk about how to move around the
Got
scene.
it.
You're going to have the most control moving around when you have a 3-button mouse and a keyboard with a number pad. If you don't have either
have
of these
those.
things, go to Edit, Preferences, and under Input you have these options for Emulate Numpad and Emulate 3-button mouse. While you're in here, you should go to System and turn the undo steps as high as it can go. And this
Okay, well, that seems important. Let's go to System, undo steps. Oh yeah. We want the maximum undo steps.
just makes it so that you can press undo more times. When you press the scroll wheel in, that's called the middle mouse button, and when you click and drag it, you'll pivot or rotate around a focus point. If you're emulating a 3-button mouse, you can hold Alt and left click and drag. And there's this gizmo in the corner that you can left click and drag also, which might be good for people on laptops who don't have a mouse. To pan around or move side by side, hold the middle mouse button and shift and drag.
And shift and drag.
If you don't have a middle mouse button, again, you're going to use the Alt button instead. There's also this hand icon for laptop users. You can left click and drag that. To zoom in, you can use the scroll wheel or hold the middle mouse button and control and drag. And again, use the Alt button if you don't have the middle mouse button. And once again, we have this magnifying glass icon over here for zooming.
Wait.
You might start to notice.
Stop. Hold up.
To use the Alt button instead. There's also this hand icon for laptop users. You can left click and drag that. To zoom in, you can use the scroll wheel or hold the middle mouse button and control and drag. And again, use the Alt button if you don't have the middle mouse button. And once again, we have this magnifying glass icon over here for zooming. You might start to notice that there are many different ways of doing the same thing. This is going to keep happening while you're learning. Try not to get too overwhelmed by all of the options. Just use the ones that make sense for you. Feel free to pause and test these out if you're following along. We can use the number pad to look from different angles. So 1 is front view, 3 is side view, and 7 is top view. And if you turned on the emulate numpad option, you can use the numbers at the top of your keyboard instead.
Nice.
One thing about these options is that they're orthographic, which means nothing will have perspective and things will look more flat. And if you don't know about perspective, imagine looking down a hallway. Perspective is what lets you see all of the walls getting smaller as they go further away. If we press 1 to see the front orthographic view, things no longer get small when they're far away.
The other num keys.
We can switch between perspective and orthographic view by hitting 5 on the numpad, or by clicking this icon. 9 will flip the view around to the other side, and all of the other numbers in between will rotate the view. Some other ways of changing views is by clicking the circles on this widget thing over here.
Wild.
You can also rotate with the middle mouse button and click Alt to snap to the nearest view. You can hit the backtick button over here to get a pie menu with all of these options, and you can also find all. You can also rotate with the middle mouse button and click Alt to snap to the nearest view.
Oh my god,
you can hit the backtick button over here to get a pie menu with all of these options, and you can also find all of these options in the view menu up here. A lot of the time, menus will also tell you the keyboard shortcuts, and if you're feeling adventurous, you can check the menus to discover a ton of hidden options. I'll show more of the menus as we move forward. You might notice that if you move around a lot, it can be hard to find your way back to stuff in your scene. So an easy way of doing that is by selecting something with left click, you'll see it turn yellow, then click period on the numpad to focus on it. Now if you rotate, that object will be the pivot point. You can hit the back tick to find this option as well. It's called view selected. Another way of finding out how to do.
Let's just pause. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's pretend we're like, how do you do that thing again? There we go. Away we go. And then I did get some tips from a friend. Zoom. Back to the cube. You can select stuff up here as well as down here. It's so nice.
Things is with the F3 button, which lets you search. You have to know the right words to search for though, and you'll also get different results depending on where you use it. Like if you use it here in the 3D viewport in object mode, then you'll only get results relating to that. The last navigation thing is looking through your camera, and you can do that by hitting 0 on the numpad, or by clicking this camera icon right here. This is the angle you'll see from when you render an image, and cameras and rendering are big topics that we'll only touch on a little in this video. And before we start adding things, make sure you're saving your file so you don't lose any progress, and we can do that with Control S, or go to File and Save, or Save As, and then choose a name and a location for your Blender file.
Alright, Uh, can I just say like baby's first blend? Baby's blend. Where would I even put this? I guess I need a new folder, right? New folder. Blender. Untitled.blend? Nah. My first blend. .blend. Save this shit.
Let's delete this cube now. You can select it by left-clicking and hit X to delete and press Enter to confirm. Add an object with this Add menu at the top or by hitting Shift-A. There are a lot of things we can add from this menu like curves, cameras, and lights, but the one we're interested in right now is the Mesh option at the top. This will let us choose from a list of primitive shapes. Try adding and deleting a few of them to see what they look like. This is a monkey head named Suzanne, and you might have seen her around from renders on the internet. People like to use it to test things out because it's a little more complex than the other options in here. Anyway, if we add it...
Okay, let's add some stuff. Watch this. Add plane. It's very flat. All right, delete, add cube. We back, boys. Look at that. It's so big. Add cycle. Oh, why was I thinking it would be like a sphere? It said circle, not sphere. Okay, delete that. Add UV sphere. Oh, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum 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 bum. What's an icosphere? Oh, that's cool. It's like the Epcot Center or something like that. Cylinder. Cylinder. Can we add multiple things? Cone. But if I select the cylinder and delete it, the cone's inside. I see, I see. I like the cone shape. Ooh, it's cool looking. How many sides does it have? Enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 36 sides. It's not a perfect cone, but that's okay. Add a torus. Oh, this is how they make the donut, huh? It's so blocky. The grid. Is this different than the plane? All right, let's add the monkey head. Suzanne. Aw, she's happy. We've discovered Suzanne. What will we do with this knowledge? Delete Suzanne. He said there's a lot of things you can add here. Like a NURBS curve. A ball. This ball has a halo. Text. Oh, that's cool. Text. Hello? Oh, that was just the name of the text. Custom properties. Uh-huh. Okay, but let's delete that. We don't need text. We don't need no text around here. What else can you add? Volume. Grease. Pencil. Oh, there's a monkey here. Oh. It's a very flat monkey. Well, it's not exactly flat. Oh, it's like 2D and 3D. That's what the grease pencil does. Armature. Add an armature object to the scene. I recognize this. This is that weight thing that people keep moving to do stuff. A lattice. Yes. No idea what that does. Empty. What if I add an empty cube? Oh. Interesting. Why would you want that? I'm guessing it wouldn't really like show up. When you look at it this way, it almost looks like a butt. Right? It's empty. I guess there's things you can do with the lines that make more sense. You can add light, camera, action, force field, wind. Oh, so this is how you add the physics, is it? Turbulence. For the shakiest of titties, we need the turbulence. Fluid flow. Okay. I don't know what some of this stuff. I can make a cube. Let's go. All right. Start the tutorial back up.
In a cube and don't do anything else, you'll notice this little box in the corner. You can expand it to access some options about the mesh, like how big
Add cube. I see.
it is. And each primitive has different options, like the cone will let us change the size of the top and bottom and how many points we have going around. If you accidentally click something and make the box go away, you can get it back with F9 as long as you haven't modified your shape. There are a ton of other ways to make complex shapes with modeling techniques, but that's for the next video. This is just a way of starting with a shape that's most similar to whatever you want to make. Also,
sick cube dog. Thanks. Okay, F9 brings up the box. You can make the box bigger. Nice. Probably you want to use like a, whoa, that's big. Oh, we can rotate it. This is the slowest rotating cube possible. Why am I doing this? Just to see what's possible. Oh yeah? Nice argument, buddy. Shifts your cube's Z rotation 5.7 degrees. Take that. Fortunately, I know how to delete this and add a cube. Wait a minute. It's still 5 meters. Shouldn't it be 2 meters? Okay. Interesting.
if you want an object to look smooth, you don't need to turn these up really high. Instead, left click to select, then right click, and we have a shade smooth option at the top, as well as auto.
Whoa, wait, hold up. This guy's blowing my gosh darn mind. Okay. On the vertices, we can make a lot of vertices. We can make a few vertices. But shade smooth. Let's go. Look at that. The true circle. Well, it's not a true circle, is it?
Smooth and flat. The flat shading is how everything looks by default, and the auto smooth is for when you want a mixture of the two, like if you want the side of a cylinder to be smooth and the top and the bottom to look flat. I want to be able to move these objects around so we can start making our scene, so let's...
Okay, hold up. Is this over here? The cone. If if we add a cone, what if we make the vertices very small and then shade smooth? Doesn't really do much. But then how do we get the cone menu back? Or can we not? He did say unless you've modified it, right? Okay. I guess we need to make a cone. All right. We're looking similar to the
Left click this cone and hit G. Now when we move the mouse, the cone should follow, and we can left click or press enter to place it. You can
Okay. G.
cancel the transformation by right clicking or hitting escape, and it will snap back to where it started. And like most other programs, Control Z will undo an action, and Control Shift Z will redo the action. So we can move with G, we can
Okay. Click it, move it around. Oh wait, click it, undo, click it, undo, click it, move it around, undo, redo. All right, wait, okay, so Control Y is not redo. Control Shift Z is redo. That's weird.
rotate with R, and we can...
Okay, all right. So G is move, grab, rotate, R. We love that. Whoa. And scale with S. Wow, wait. Oh, we can invert it with the scaler too. We've created Final Destination. No items. Let's go.
Scale with S. I remember G by thinking G is for grab. I recommend getting used to using shortcuts, but we can also use these tools on the side. And if you don't see these, hit T or click and drag this arrow. You can hover over them to see what they are, or you can pull it out further. So we have the move, rotate, and scale options right here, and when you click them while an object is selected, you'll see a gizmo that lets you control stuff. The arrows on the side will lock it to that axis, so we have the X, we have the Y, and the Z.
Alright, I remember this stuff.
And they are
My
red,
friend told
green,
me
and
this stuff.
blue. Try to remember X, Y, Z, RGB for red, green, and blue. In Blender, Z is up, but in Minecraft and a lot of other 3D programs, Y is up. It's a pretty controversial topic in the 3D community, and if you bring it up publicly, you might start a fight. Anyway, the white circle lets you move it based on the angle you're viewing it from, and these rectangles let you move it on two axes at the same time. I'm going to add a few mesh objects with Shift A and move them around so they aren't overlapping, and we'll end up using these to make a simple flower. If you ever want to duplicate an object, left click and press Shift D. A duplicate should appear when you move your mouse, and you can place it with left click or leave it in its original spot by right clicking.
Okay. Let's delete. What did he do? He added a cylinder. Moved it. He added a icosphere. Looks like. Move it. Shift duplicate. Move it. Shift duplicate. Move it. Got our spheres and our cylinder.
The rotate tool is similar, where you have a circle for each axis, and the white circle rotates based on the view. And if you click and drag the center, you get what's called trackball rotation.
Okay. I also learned that there's shortcuts for everything. So Shift and Spacebar. G. Shift and Spacebar. R. Okay. What? do trackball rotation. Look at that. Just keep it the way it is. Just let it live its life. Spinning like a cylinder spins.
Scale is the same as moving, except the white circle will scale your object uniformly so it doesn't get all warped. You can also click and hold this tool to pick the scale cage tool, which lets you scale from different points. And then there is the transform tool that gives you all of the options, all from different points. Click and hold this tool to pick the scale cage tool, which lets you scale from different points.
Ah. What's scale cage? Okay, this makes a little bit more sense to my Photoshop brain. Yeah, hold that point. Cylinder. Grundle, this is the cylinder of your dreams. This is the cylinder that you've been waiting for, and subsequently, this cylinder has been waiting for you. Oh, nut. Correct response. Look at how big you can make this thing. Whoa. That is a big boy. Big boy. We'll just put things back. I love a nice sail. You make a good swim. Girl, you make a great swimming pool. Scale cage is 3. I see. But we can do... look at that. Wait. Job done.
And then there is the transform tool that gives you all of the options. Let's
It's
use the
T.
scale tool to...
Wait. Okay. Hold up. Bro, is going way too fast. This gives me all the options. Yeah, I guess it does. 1, 2, 3 options. Move, scale, rotate, scale. Okay. Somehow this humble cylinder can become anything that it would ever desire. Its dreams can be realized. Also, these spheres looking mighty intimidating. Let's save.
flatten this icosphere so it looks a little more like a flower petal. Now I'll press 7 to look from the top, and I'll move this to the center. And we can start duplicating with Shift D, move it here, and then rotate it either with the rotate tool or by hitting R. And I'll just make a few of these in a circle around the center to make it look kind of like flower petals. Let's...
Okay. I guess, nope, not what I wanted to do. You just need to go over there. You need to go over there. You need to go over there. All right. We are working on this guy. Okay, so how do we do this? We need to flatten it first. Scale on the blue axis. I see. Let's make it nice and tiny. And then 7 to view from the top, right? Scale on this axis. Oh, it's like a petal. Okay. 7 to view from the top, please. All right. Let's duplicate. Move. And rotate. Move. And rotate. I get the feeling that you want to be using the the universal transform as much as possible, right? When you're doing this kind of work. There's probably like 100 quicker ways to do this sort of thing. We're not worried about that right now. Nope. We're not worried about that right now. What we're worried about is move and rotate. You're doing better than I? Well, maybe you should try following along to this tutorial. It seems like a good tutorial. Move, rotate. I was huddled under a cold shower and crying after 20 minutes. Okay, wait, hold up. Okay, all right. I remember how to move. Shift and middle mouse button. All right. Our flower is looking kind of janky. Let's try to make it a little bit more pretty. I'm so pretty, oh so pretty. I'm so pretty and witty and gay, and I pity any girl who isn't me today. Songs you just can't sing anymore without being misinterpreted. These were the days when tutorials weren't as well made. Yeah, honestly, this is a really nice tutorial. The dude's got like Discord servers and cheat sheets and all sorts of stuff. All right, look at this flower. How you feeling about this flower? If we switch it to this direction, you can tell it's a bit janky. You can tell it's just a little bit janky, right? Not me being a perfectionist or anything. Looking better though. Yeah. All right, a little flower petals.
Set this back to select now. If you want any of these transform gizmos to be visible all the time, you can turn them on up here under the gizmo menu. And I personally like to leave the move one on. When you're...
Wait, that's nice. Where's the gizmo menu? Objects. Make the move one always on. Even when we're transformed. Yeah, oh my god, that's nice. Okay, we're selecting again.
Transforming an object, you can also lock to an axis. So hit G, and while you're moving, you can hit X, Y, or Z to lock to that axis.
Ooh. Okay, grab the cylinder. Let's try this. Holding with G, and then we locked. We locked. We locked. That's nice.
You can also hit G and hold the middle mouse button to snap to the nearest axis.
Okay. I'm learning so much right now. G, and then snap to the nearest axis. Oh, I see. I see. Uh-huh. Wow!
If you hit Shift and X, Y, or Z, then it will move on every axis except the one that you pressed. For example, G and Shift X will make it move only on the Y and the Z axis. And this works for rotating and scaling as well. And if you...
Hold up. This guy's just dropping knowledge bombs here, and I need to focus. Okay. So G moves it around. But if we Shift X, then we don't move on the X-axis. If we shift Ah, I see, I see, I see. Okay. This works for scaling and rotation as well. Let's rotate this bad boy. So shift alone just gives you this very fine rotation. You can shift only on those axes, shift only on these axes, and shift only on these axes, or around those axes. Do 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 do. Spin, cylinder, spin. And let's scale as well. Scale only on the x-axis. Look at that. Scale only on the y-axis. Oh, she thick. On the not those axes. Oh, look at that. And then you can let go. Oh, I see, I see. You can let go of shift. Shift X. We have become the wall. We have made us instant swimming pool already. Swoop. Dads, when they hear the temperature is 80 degrees, swoop, get out of the swimming pool.
You hit R to rotate and then R again. That's how you enter trackball rotation.
Oh, okay. R to rotate. Nope. R to rotate. R again for trackball rotation. Whoa. I don't know how useful this is, but I guess in some situations you might want to do it. Okay, cool.
When you move, rotate, or scale, you can also start typing numbers. For example, G, X, and 1 will move on the X-axis by 1 meter. R, Z, and 45 will rotate on the Z-axis by 45 degrees. And S2 will double the scale. And don't forget that you can always hit right-click or...
Okay. Let's see. G, R, 2. No. Undo. G, X2. Did it work? G, X, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Oh, I see. I'm actually typing up there. Okay. 23. 4. 5. Enter. Undo. R. 45. 453. S. Y. 50. Instant long boy. Let's go. Okay, back to reality.
Or escape to make it not apply if you just want to cancel the action. While transforming an object, you can hold shift to move slower and with more precision, and you can hold control to snap it to the grid. Shift and...
Ah, nice. Okay, I was wondering about that. So we found the shift by ourselves. Let's do grab, moving it around, but now it's snapped to the grid. Snap to the grid. I just remembered that I can focus on this. I don't have to put it in the periphery, huh? Okay. Grab. Snap to the grid. Snap to the grid. We can also set it not on the z-axis, and then it'll snap to just these grids, right? Yeah, look at that. Oh man, that's cool.
Control at the same time will snap, but in smaller amounts. I'll talk more about snapping options later. Let's use some of these tips to finish our flower. So let's add in another icosphere with Shift A under Mesh, icosphere, and then we can look from the top and make sure this is in the right spot by moving it with G.
Okay. Let's go back here. Doon, doon. We can move this down. And I'm guessing he wants me to scale it down.
And we can scale it down until it looks like a good size. Make sure to check from the front and the side also. And this seems like it's in a good spot. Now we can take the cylinder.
Okay. That's like a good flower size, right? And yeah, looks like it's perfect. Perfect.
And just move it a little closer like this. And again, make sure to check from the front and
Okay. So we have the green thing, which means we can move it on the y-axis. You just get out of here. Yeah.
aside by hitting 1 on the numpad. Now let's make this skinnier by hitting S to scale and then...
Okay, so we do need to move it back a little bit. Look at that. Beautiful.
Shift Z, and that will make it scale on only the X and the Y.
All right, right. Shift. Shift Z. There we go. Yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go.
And we can use this like a stem. So now we have a very simple flower shape, and as we move forward, we'll be able to make more complex things. Let's also start a floating island made out of cubes. So this one's going to be very simple. We can just hit Shift A under Mesh, choose a cube, and we can move it to the side with G. Now I'll just scale this up just a little with S. Now I'll duplicate this with Shift D, hit Z to move it up, and we can hit S and Shift Z to scale it out like that, and S, Z to flatten it down on the Z-axis like this. So this is just going to be the top part of our floating island like that. And if any of these...
Okay. Look at this flower. It's cute. Scale. This is how you be a Blender master. I just want to point that out. We can make it a really tall flower too. Damn, look at that. Looks a little bit more realistic that way. Become one with the blender. I want to put my tender heart in a blender. I am become one with the blender. All right. Shift A, cube. Move cube. Scale cube. Duplicate on the Z-axis. Scale. Oh, scale slightly out. I see. Uh-huh. Just a little cap for our little island. Yeah, that looks exactly like what he did. I have mastered the blender. Let's make this a little thicker. Let's move it down a bit. Yeah, look at that. Looky there. Beautiful.
These shortcuts are confusing. Remember, you can use these tools on the side. You can reset the location, rotation, and scale of your objects with Alt-G, Alt-R, and Alt-S. And
you can reset the things with Alts. So what does that mean for this one? Alt-S. Ah. Let's undo that. Alt-G.
And this will make them their original size and shape again. You can select objects with left click, and you can select more than one object by holding shift and left clicking multiple things.
Okay. That makes perfect sense.
You'll notice that when multiple things are selected, one of them is yellow and the rest are orange. The yellow one is what we call the active selection, and if you shift-click an object that isn't the active selection, it will become the active selection, and when you shift-click the active selection, it deselects it. The selection tool is enabled by default in this menu, and it sets a box. You can use that by clicking and dragging on an empty spot of your viewport, and that will make a box. Or you can hit B, and that will prompt you to make a selection. So we can use that to select the top of our flower like this, and then we can rotate it a little. Hit C to circle select.
Whoa, okay. So, rotate. It's cute. Look at that thing. Okay. Rotate. Well, let's rotate on the axis. So I want the star to be facing up, like so. Then we give it just the tiniest bit of organic rotation. We must apply the organic rotation in order to ensure that the flower appears to be unique and organic.
Using left click to select and the scroll wheel to change the size of the circle, and when you're done you can right click. Lasso select doesn't have a shortcut, and you can only get to it through the select menu or by changing the selection tool by clicking and holding to get these options. Pressing W is the shortcut to cycle through the tools. You can also select everything with A and deselect everything with Alt A, or by clicking on empty space.
Click on empty space. Okay. So we have box select. We have circle select, which just selects everything that you scroll over, I guess. Lasso select. Yeah. Ah. I guess just clicking always works, huh?
Let's continue transforming shapes to make a simple tree. So we'll start out with a cylinder, and this will be the...
Okay. Well, let's box select this and just scooch it on over.
The tree trunk. We can add in a cylinder right
And
here.
save. And save.
And we can change the radius.
We must save. Always saving.
To make it a little smaller, like this. And this is going to be kind of like a pine tree, so we can add in a cone. And let's set this to 16. And
all right. Cylinder. You set the radius lower. Lower radius. Add the cone. Set the vertices to 16.
And move it up like that.
Move it
now, I think
up.
this should be bigger, so we can hit S to scale and move it up a little bit, either with this gizmo or with G and then Z.
Okay. Let's scale it up. And then move it up. Cool.
Now we have a
Wait.
on the internet. People like to use it to test things out because it's a little more complex than the other options in here. Anyway, if we add in a... Let's continue transforming shapes to make a simple tree. So we'll start
Remember
out
not
with
to
a
hit the
cylinder, and
numbers.
this will be the tree trunk. We can add in a cylinder right here, and we can change the radius to make it a little smaller, like this. And this is going to be kind of like a pine tree, so we can add in a cone. And let's set this to 16 and move it up like that. Now I think this should be bigger, so we can hit S to scale and move it up a little bit, either with this gizmo or with G
chapters.
and then Z. Now we have a simple pine tree, and we can just select all of it with box select by clicking and dragging, and we can hit G and X to just move it to the side. And don't forget to save your file. I mentioned that T opens up the tool panel on the left. Well, there is another panel on the right that you can open with N, or by pulling open this arrow. I'll add in a cube with Shift A.
Ooh, okay. N. And don't forget to save your file.
We have a few options here. At the top, there is Item, where we can change location, rotation, and scale, as well as seeing the dimensions of our object. The dimensions are in meters, but if you want a different unit like feet, you can type in the number that you want and then put feet or FT after. And this works with a lot of different units. You can also do math in here, like 1 divided by 2, and it will give you 0.5.
Oh, that's cool.
Another way of changing units
We like
is in the
math on this
properties
channel.
over here, but I recommend leaving it alone for now. Clicking and dragging down will let you select multiple fields, drag side to side to move the values, and shift and control work just like when you use G to move, which either change the values slower or snaps them to more even increments. If you have multiple objects selected and you want all of them to be affected by changes here, you can hold Alt while dragging side to side, and if you're typing values, just hold Alt while hitting Enter. This trick.
Okay. Zoom, 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 zoom. Snap, 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 snap. Slower, 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 slower. Slow snap, slow snap, slow snap. Drag all these. Oh, I see. Ah, ho, ho, ho. Hon, hon, hon. Makes sense. We can rotate multiple directions at once. Let's just get up in here. Wow. Whoa. Okay, nice, nice, nice. All right, let's go back a second. Watch this again.
Now, clicking and dragging down will let you select multiple fields, drag side to side to move the values, and shift and control work just like when you use G to move, which
Perfect.
either change the values slower or snaps them to more even increments. If you have multiple objects selected and you want all of them to be affected by changes here, you can hold Alt while dragging side to side, and if you're typing values, just hold Alt while hitting Enter. This trick.
All right. Grab all these. We can do that to move the entire selection, or we can just move the one thing. And if we're doing this, we do Alt 5. Yeah, okay. So it's Alt Enter. Got it. The flower has just been blown away. I like that. Okay, fun, interesting.
With the Alt button works in a lot of different places for affecting multiple objects, so try it
Okay.
out if you're ever feeling curious.
Yeah. Interesting. Fascinating. Okay. Back to the cube, I'm assuming.
The Tool tab will change depending on what tool you have selected, so if I select something over here, you'll see these options change. And View is where we have some camera options. The only one I want to show right now is this option called Lock Camera to View.
Okay. The Tool tab changes based on this. Got it. And the View tab, what do we have?
We can check that and hit 0 on the numpad to look through our camera, and when we move around, the camera will follow. And when it
Camera to view.
looks like a good angle, make sure to uncheck it over here. Things in the toolbar and the N panel will change depending on what mode you're in, and we can see that by looking up here. Right now we're in object mode, and we'll mostly stay in this mode for this video, but if you click it, you'll be able to see what the other modes are. Next video, I'll talk all about edit mode, which is where we model to make more complex shapes. Right next to that, we can change the editor type, and if you hover over this, it will tell you that this is the 3D viewport. You can change the editor type by selecting from the list, but Blender also has some pre-made workspaces for you. That's what all of these tabs are. For example, when you start making more complex materials, you can click on the Shading tab, or you can stay in Layout mode and change the editor type to the Shader editor. I'll just change it back to the 3D viewport. You can also move windows around, as well as add...
Hold up. Just casually showing off my folders over here. Is there anything untoward? Is there? No. Thank goodness. Just Isaac's documents on display. Scandalous.
editor. I'll just change it back to the 3D viewport. You can also move windows around, as well as adding and removing them. Move them by hovering over where two windows meet until the cursor turns into arrows, and then you can click and drag. You can add new windows by hovering over a corner. The cursor will turn into a crosshair shape, then you can click and drag. This will either split the window that you drag onto, or it will join the windows. If you're splitting a window and you decide that you don't want to, you can cancel it by right-clicking. I have a hard time controlling it, so I usually right-click on a corner or where two windows meet, and you can select what you want to do from this list. By default, we actually have a few other editor types available to us. Down here is the timeline, which gives us time options for when we're making videos. Over here we have properties, which let us change a bunch of stuff about our scene and the objects we're using. And it has a ton of options, so I'm only going to show stuff as we need.
Hold up. I'm making too many things. Close area. Close area. Close area. And then where's the collections? Outliner. I see. And I guess this one down here is one too. Yeah, okay. All right. Save. I don't know how useful that's going to be, but you know, we do what we need to do here.
When we're making videos. Over here we have properties, which let us change a bunch of options. If you want to, you can cancel it by right-clicking. I have a hard time controlling it, so I usually right-click on a corner or where two windows meet, and you can select what you want to do from this list. By default, we actually have a few other editor types available to us. Down here is the timeline, which gives us time options for when we're making videos. Over here we have properties, which let us change a bunch of stuff about our scene and the objects we're using. And it has a ton of options, so I'm only going to show stuff as we need it. Up here is the outliner, and it's like a list of all the stuff we have in our scene. Yellow icons are objects, and if you hit the arrow, it'll show more info about the object, like what type it is or if it has a material. You can click on them in here to select them in the 3D viewport. You can name objects by double-clicking or by selecting them and hitting F2. And this works in the viewport or the outliner. If you want to organize your scene, you can make collections, which are basically like folders. And to make a collection, click this button right here, right-click and select New Collection, or hover.
Oh, wait. Okay, and then I'm guessing here, this cylinder can go in this collection, and this cone can go in this collection, and then we call this collection tree. Boop. And then what if we did the same thing? Let's do it the other way. New collection, icosphere, and we can shift and hold all the icospheres, that cylinder, and move all these into here, and then we call this flower. And then our other cubes, right? These two cubes. New collection. Island. Look at that. Lovely. And I bet if we have one of those things selected, we'll add things into that collection. Right. Let's try selecting that, shift add a cube. Now let's try selecting this, shift add a cube. Okay, I was right.
Hover over the outliner and hit C. You can then rename it and drag objects into it.
C.
You can also put collections inside other collections, just like folders on your computer. Let's select our flower and put it into its own collection.
Legit. Oh, and
to
if you
select
select
everything
them
in
in
the
the scene,
collection,
it
you
selects
can
them in
right-click it
the
and
outliner.
select objects. You can move objects into collections from the viewport by selecting something and hitting M for move. Deleting collections is the same as deleting objects. You can just select them and hit X. These icons let you toggle things about your objects and collections, like the eye that makes them visible or not, and the camera, which makes them not show up in the renders. You can also add more or remove options with this filter drop down right here. And then the search bar for if you want to find something and you know what its name is. In the viewport we have some other view options. Right now we're in solid view, which makes everything look gray, and it's supposed to make it easier to see objects while modeling. We also have wireframe, material preview, which people also call look dev, and rendered view. And we also have X-ray,
Viewport shading, rendered view. Oh goodness. Material preview. Well, let's just do, what's this? Solid.
right here, which will make your models see-through in solid and wireframe view. Rendered view is what your scene will look like when it's rendered, and material preview has sample lights and an environment texture, and people mostly use this to test out shading and lighting. Rendering
PTSD intensifies? Bro, what are you talking about? Have you done this? Have you done this tutorial? Is this your jam? Is this your shiz? Look, I can X-ray. Incredible. duplicate linked, delete hierarchy. Ah, okay. I watched a tutorial by a cat boy. What's his name? The Zarkon. Face it, Zarkon. You're the cat girl we've all been after this whole time. I just realized I don't have any water. That's a crime. Instance to scene. Instances selective collections to active scene. I don't know what that means. Render, viewport, hide. Yeah. I'm gonna go grab some water. This is a travesty. Enjoy the music. Ugh. All right, I'm back. And I have water. You know who else is a cat boy? Blue. That's right. You're a cat boy. He just yawned. A nice cat boy named Mako Ray. Basically step by step on how to build a VTuber model. Oh, snap. Should I do that next? Should I do that thing? We're about a third of the way through this tutorial, which is good because we're about a third of the way through the stream. So I'm hoping to get this tutorial done soon. Well, send it to me, bro. Let's go. How long are we going to be working on Blender? Possibly forever.
Rendering is kind of like taking a picture or a video of your scene, and if you go to render image, a window will pop up showing your scene the way that it looks through your camera. And you can go to image, save as, if you want to save the picture somewhere. There are a ton of render settings that can change the results you get, but that's a topic for a different video. This arrow gives you options for each of the views, but solid view has the most useful one in my opinion.
This arrow gives you options for each of the views. Oh, I actually like that. Okay, can we like... Yeah. We'll just keep that the same. Studio lighting. Look, now you can see the background and the objects very clearly. Isn't that comfy? I like that a lot.
At the top, you can change how the lighting looks or add a matte cap, which makes it look like a different material. I personally prefer using this one right here. I also like turning cap.
Oh, that is pretty. Okay, matte cap. Look at those. What do we got? Oh, that's wild. Ooh, these are cool. Why didn't anyone tell me that Blender had this feature? Okay, we're gonna go with this guy's recommendation because it's a good recommendation. Yeah, that's right, buddy. It's a good recommendation. Around. Look at this flower. Look at that cute flower.
On and setting it to both, which adds
turn cavity on and set it to both.
Some shading that defines edges and makes it easier to determine the angle of faces.
Every time I open Blender, why didn't anyone tell me? Dude, this program has so much going on. Like, so far he's walked through like 17 different ways to move an object, and not even like scale or rotate, just move it. And it's like, buddy, don't bite my hand. You don't even have teeth. You can't do anything. He's giving me love nibbles. At least I think that's what it is. Or maybe he's just hungry and he doesn't have the brains to figure out where his food is. Your food's over there, buddy. But yeah, man. Apparently there's 6 different modes to Blender, and we're on mode 1. Look at how cool this looks though. This is how I want to model always.
You can check out viewport overlays for a bunch of other options. I'll show more of these in the next video though. If you want to change the color of your object, go into Material Preview, select one of your primitive shapes, and you can add a new material by clicking on the Material Properties tab.
Go into Material Preview, select one of your shapes, and then go into the what tab? Sick cube dog. I thought there was only 16. Kappa. I don't even know what we're doing.
And clicking the New button. This will add a lot of options that you don't have to worry about right now. Just know that you can change the color with this base color option.
Base color. Oh yeah. Look at that base color. Drop the base color.
You can change the material name up here, and you can switch to a different material with this drop down that will show the other materials that you've created. You can add...
I don't know why I pasted that. My keyboard is scufflall. All good. What's up, man? The subsurface color? Get out of here. There's so many settings. Ooh.
Add a material to multiple objects by selecting them, and then shift selecting the object with the color that you want them.
All right. We should make this a yellowish flower, huh? What kind of sick flower would dare make their middle section not yellow? Sent you the playlist? Well, thank you. Let's just do like a light green, shall we? All right. This is material number 2, I guess.
Them all to have, and that should be an active selection with a yellow outline. Then press Control L and link the material.
Okay. Control L. Link materials. Whoa! Flowers looking good.
Let's add some color to the objects that we already have in the scene. So I want green for the stem. I'll click the New button and...
Oh, should we change this to blue? Just follow the tutorial. Green. New button. Green.
Rename this green 1, and we can get a green color like this. I'll do the same thing for this tree, but I want it to have a slightly different green, so I'll call it green 2. And I'll make this a little closer to blue right here, and also make it a little darker. We can have brown for the trunk right here. Rename this brown, and select a brown color.
How do you do that? How do you make the dark green? How do you make the darkest of greens? Super nice dark green. I know nothing. Give me just RGB. Green.
Let's get to it.
Whoa! Woohoo! Yo! Dolu, hello. Thank you for the sub. Enjoy the emotes. I hope you enjoy green 2. It doesn't quite look right though. Need it to be darker. And then brown. We should rename this blue. We should rename this yellow. All hail Mighty Sir Isaac, creator of flower lamp thingy. That's correct. It's the flower lamp thingy. Brown is close to orange. I guess it is, isn't it? That's looking mighty brown. Brown. How are you today, Dolu? I saw that there's some medical stuff happening in your family right now, and I wish you and yours all the best.
That will be close to orange right here, and then we can desaturate it and also make it darker. And then I want a grass color for the top. We can just select the one that we used for the stem of our flower. In this, I want to...
Okay. How did he do that? Tired, very tired. Understood. Well, I hope you find some time to take care of yourself while you are busy taking care of other people. It's important to, keep track of yourself. You need your energy as well.
We can desaturate it and also make it darker. And then I want a grass color for the top. We can just select the one that we used for the stem of...
look at that. Okay.
Our flower. In this, I want to be kind of a dirt color, so we'll have brown too. And I'll make it a brown color, but I want it to be a lot lighter. This next part...
Let's make it. Yes, sir. Your stream is the fuel I need. Awesome. Well, look at this Minecraft ass block we're making. No, that's not what I want that. Is Isaac suggesting being tired all the time is not good? I may actually be suggesting that. Look at that nice dirt brown too.
We'll be a little more advanced. I'm just going to start throwing out a bunch of tips while we add stuff to our scene.
Yes!
All of these tips will be in the PDF that you can download, so don't worry about memorizing everything. Each mesh object will have an origin point.
Okay. Let's go back to cube view. Each mesh object will have an origin point.
And that's what this little dot is in the center. If you hit N to open this panel, the location here is showing where the origin point is, and it's also what your object pivots around when you rotate it. Let's delete this and add in a cone with Shift A, and I'll just move it up. This will end up being another tree. If we wanted this cone to pivot from the bottom, we can move the origin point, and one way is by going to this Tool tab and checking Affect Only Origins.
All right. Let's add in a cube. No, cone. Move it up. And then affect only origins.
Now we can move the origin to a different spot with G, and I'll hit Z -1 and enter to move it down 1 meter on the Z axis.
Okay. G, Z, minus. Wait, no.
Everything.
Okay.
Each mesh object will
sure
have an origin point, and that's what this little dot is in the center. If you hit N to open this panel, the location here is showing where the origin point is.
Just woke up in a dazed and confused state, so I am good. Why are you awake right now? Do you like to write stuff, I do like to write stuff, actually. Good. Look at the Z, X, Y. I like that. Affect only origins. Okay, let's grab Z. No. Grab. Select. Let's select this object. Grab Z -1. Okay.
And it's also what your object pivots around when you rotate it. Let's delete this and add in a cone with Shift A, and I'll just move it up. This will end up being another tree. If we wanted this cone to pivot from the bottom, we can move the origin point, and one way is by going to this tool tab and checking affect only origins. Now we can move the origin to a different spot.
I'm not sure what that clip is of, but I'll review it and see what you're trying to. Yes, you could not miss the first Blender stream. Look how cool Blender looks. Look at the Blender. Look at it. Look at it. It's beautiful.
With G, and I'll hit Z -1 and enter to move it down 1 meter on the Z axis. And when it looks good, just make sure to uncheck this. Now when we rotate with R, you can see that it's pivoting from the bottom. We can also move the origin by right-clicking, set origin, and we have these options right here to set.
The moment where Dolu was banned from the stream. Is that what is going to happen? I see, now we're pivoting around this origin. Very cool. And are we scaling around that origin too? We are. Final destination. Items only. No items. Final destination. 3 lives. Oh, can you hear the... Whoa, back. Can you hear the leaf blower guy outside? Don't need to look at Blender. Seen enough. Seen enough. In my time.
Enter it. I'll talk about what the 3D cursor is in a little bit. And for now, I'll just choose origin to center of mass volume.
All right, set origin. Origin is center of mass volume. Sure.
And you can see that it's a little closer to the center. I'll just hit Control-Z to move it back to where it was originally. You can also go into edit mode up here or by hitting Tab, select everything with A and move with G. When you move things in edit mode, the origin will stay in the same spot. And like I said...
Wait, hold up. Go into edit mode. Select everything. And when you move it... I didn't select everything. Whoa. Hold the phone. Okay. Select everything with A. There we go. And the origin stays in the same spot. It's in the same spot. And then if we go back to object mode, now when we rotate it, yada da 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 yada da da da. Look. We've mastered spaceflight. That's the this is Blender. I thought it was MS Paint. They did add some features to MS Paint, but I don't think they added this many features. Back to object mode with us.
We'll talk more about edit mode in the next video. Let's make another pine tree, so I'm actually just going to delete this, and I'll select both of these by clicking and dragging, and Shift D to duplicate, then X, and I'll just move it back closer to the center. And because I duplicated them, they already have the same materials too.
Nice. Okay. Wait, we don't want the light. Shift, duplicate. Let's go. Isaac MS Paint stream when? That would be dope. I do have MS Paint, but I think the new cool version of MS Paint is only on like Windows 11 or something like that.
Or there's a website apparently.
Look at that! Look at that tree! Look at that tree. Maybe we could do an MS Paint stream. I'm gonna tend to mom now. Hopefully, catch you back today. Good luck with the blends. Thanks for stopping in, Dolu. I'm sending you energy. Ah! Paint 3D is on Windows 10, if that's what you mean. So there's Paint 3D, which I actually used a lot before GIMP. But Paint, just Paint, is getting a bunch of upgrades. MS Paint.
I'd like to duplicate this a few times, so let's hit Shift D, Z, and then move it up a little bit, and I'll left click or press enter when I'm done. Now if we hit Shift R, Blender will repeat the last action we did.
Ooh. Let's do that. Shift R. Oh, wait. It only repeats the last action. So, duplicate, move it along the Z axis. And now, wow! It's very pretty.
And we can press this as many times as we want. This only repeats the last action though, so if we move it and we rotate it, Blender will only recognize the rotation because that was the most recent action. There's an option up here called proportional editing. Let's turn that on by clicking it or pressing O. If we select and scale the top cone with S, you'll see that multiple are being scaled at once, but with a fall off so that the cones that are further away are scaling less.
All right. I guess we don't need this many cones, right? How many cones does he have? 5? Bruh. Man, you gotta keep watching tutorials. I'm gonna need this tutorial for real. Let me just copy that. Let me just go to our personal Discord conversation and paste it. Oh yeah, apparently my former hometown of Ohio had a good election today. All right. Oh, proportional editing. Scaling. Huh? Hold up.
Because that was the most recent action. There's an option up here called proportional editing. Let's turn that on by clicking it or pressing O. If we select and scale the top cone with S, you'll see that multiple are being scaled at once, but with a fall off so that the cones that are further away are scaling less. There's a circle called the area of influence, and you can change that with the scroll wheel. Scrolling up makes the circle smaller, and scrolling down makes it larger. I'll just hit
Hold up. Ugh. All right, let's scale. Let's make the circle of influence bigger. Gesundheit? Why, Dankeschön. Yo, look at that. Okay, let's just set that. That's like the perfect pine tree, isn't it?
right click to cancel this. The fall off is set to smooth right now, but we can change it to get different shapes. Feel free to play around with each one. I'll set this to linear for the tree right here, and I'll just select the top one, hit S to scale, and then Shift Z so that it's scaling on the X and the Y, and I'll scroll down until this is big enough to be affecting all of the cones. And I just want to scale this so that none of them are overlapping, maybe like that. And this gives us like a pretty nice shape right here. Random is a little different and just causes chaos, but it can be nice for making a lot of objects look different. And proportional editing also works with moving and rotating. It might be a little easier to understand if you make something like a fence.
All right. Well, this is actually sick. let's... Let's do that on this one too, shall we? All right, so duplicate up a little bit and repeat. And let's try what he said, the linear scaling. This, goodbye light. You're getting in the way. Look at that little tree. Look at the little tree. This motherfucker's spitting. I know. Seriously. Look at that. Just like that, we have two different trees.
Let's turn this off briefly. Select our tree.
Oh, right.
And just move it to the side over here.
We can turn it off with O. Let's just delete the camera for now. We'll add a camera later. Wait, why did that get selected? Also, let's put these in a new collection called Tree 2. Perfect. Tree and Tree 2. Tree 1, Tree 2, Tree 3. All right. I wish I was smart enough to make one of them fancy 3D stream rooms some people got. Oh, like a bedroom that has a bunch of stream stuff in it. That would be pretty sick. I mean, right now I'm using the library. Also to get full body tracking working. Same though, same. We gotta wait till Sony releases those little like elbow tracker things. Whatever the hell they're called. The dots that turn you into an anime girl. Finally.
So let's make a fence by adding in a cube with Shift A, going to Mesh, Cube, and I want the origin point to be on the bottom. So I'll hit Tab to go into edit mode. Make sure you select everything with A, G, Z, and then 1. And this will move it up on the Z-axis by 1 meter, and by default our cube is 2 meters by 2 meters, so I know this will place the origin directly on the bottom, and this...
Okay. We've got G, Z, 1, enter.
This is good because now it's pivoting from the bottom, and
Affect only origins. G, Z, -1. Affect only origins. G, Z, -1. Enter. Control period is the affect only origins shortcut, because everything has a shortcut in Blender if you need to do it more than once.
when we scale it, it will always scale from the bottom. So let's hit S to scale, Shift Z, and that will scale it on the X and the Y, and we can just make it pretty thin like this.
Okay. S to scale, Shift Z, make our thin little fence post.
Now let's hit Shift D to duplicate, X, and we can just drag it to the side a little like this, and then we can hit Shift R a few times just to have a few fence posts.
Cool. Cool. Okay. Shift D, X, drag, and then boom, 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 boom. How many he got? 7? I have 8. We're just following exactly.
Now we can select the middle one and turn proportional editing back on, and when we hit S and Z, you can see that it's scaling the other ones. Now I'll scroll up to make...
That's cool. All right. Select the middle one, turn proportional editing back on, and when we scale... we need to zoom out. When we scale, we need to make sure that our proportional editor is at a decent clip.
Make this circle smaller, and you can see exactly the shape that it's making right here. So if instead of being smooth, you want it to be sharp, you could set it to sharp like this, and it will make this shape that you see on the icon right here. So S and Z, and you can see it's a little pointier. Or we can make it spherical like this, so it'll be kind of like a circle, S and Z. So I'll just scale this up a little bit right there, and I'll select...
Okay, let's undo. Let's do spherical, grab the center one. Wait, no. Khan's losing his goddamn mind right now. We love that. All right. Proportional editing spherical. Just like that. Perfect.
Select all of it by clicking and dragging, and I'll move it back a little so we don't accidentally go into these objects. I'll turn proportional editing off, and then I'll hit Shift D, X, and just move it to the side over here, and I'll
Been doing things the hard way for so many years. Honestly, I really like, so I've heard about object mode versus edit mode, sculpt mode, weight mode, texture paint, vertex paint, and then obviously there's shading, animation, rendering, compositing, geometry, UV editing. Like there's all this stuff that Blender does. And some of the best advice I got is you need to treat Blender as if it is like 7 or 8 different programs, right? 7 or 8 or even 9 different programs that all do completely different things. And when you're exploring, you need to be learning and exploring in one program at a time. So I'm going to imagine that doing this tutorial is going to introduce me mostly to object mode. And then that is all I want to use for a while, right? We don't need to know about edit mode. We don't need to know about blah, 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 this and that and what have you. By the way, let's just put these in a new collection real quick before I get out of my depth. Yeah, I had a friend teach me how to use the move tool, and I was like, that's enough. Stop. That's all I need. And then she was like, I sent you this tutorial by this guy, Joey Carlino. It's a really slow tutorial. I'm like, great. Perfect. Stop. Don't give me the fast tutorial. Give me the slow tutorial. Give me the dummy tutorial. Okay. Let's do what he is suggesting here. So duplicate X axis, move it over. Bam, look at that.
Repeat this action with Shift R a few times to make the fence a little longer. Now let's select all of this and add it to its own collection. Select.
Yes, I've already done that. Boom, boom, boom. Look at this cute little fence.
All of it, hit M to move, and you can choose new collection, and we can just name it fence. You can see over.
Oh, he is so far ahead of me. He's like, okay, so select all. M to move to a new collection, and you can just move it to a collection. That's nice. All right.
Here now we have a fence collection, and if we want, we can turn it on and off, do whatever you want with it to organize it. Let's make another tree by starting with an icosphere and duplicating it a few times with Shift D. Right click to make the duplicate go back to where it started, and then you can hit Shift R a few times, and you can see in the outliner, it's adding more icospheres, but they're all in the same place.
Okay, cool. So let's try that new collection thing. Give me the uber specific tutorial that fits my exact use case. I mean, that's the thing. You're never going to find that tutorial, right? Or it's going to be buried in the middle of a massive tutorial. All right. Icosphere. And what we're going to do here is we're going to select it. We're going to hit M, new collection, tree 3. Beautiful. All right, so then duplicate, repeat.
Let's select all of these, go to the object menu, transform, and randomize transform. You can also search for this with F3. A little box will.
Okay. Select all of these, go to the object menu, transform, randomize transform. That's why I stuck with Mach Array. It's exactly that for VTuber models. True. Step by step. My step-by-step booklet on how to keep your your game intact, not your wig pushed back. Is that how it goes? Something like that.
Open up when you do this, and it'll let you randomize all of these values, affecting all of the objects that you have selected. So let's change some of these values. I'll click and drag down so we're selecting both, and then I'll move them side to side like this, maybe about 1.5 meters, and I'll do the same thing on the Z, about 1 meter. Let's click and drag down on the scale, and you can see this is making it so that every axis is randomized. But if we set this to scale even right here, now they'll all scale up and down and not distort at all. So I'll push this.
Let's scale even. Wait a minute. Select objects. Give me the random transform. But did it again. Okay, hold up.
Up a little higher, maybe like 1.3. And if we don't like the shape that it's making, we can change this seed up here until we think it looks good. And if any of these values seem wrong for you, you can change them however you see fit. I think.
Okay. We're just gonna look at his little box down here. Object. Randomize, transform. Randomize location. Randomize scale. How does that look like? Does that look like a tree? That looks like a tree. Now that's a tree right there.
This one looks pretty good, so let's hit G, Z, and drag it up a little, and then
let's hit G, Z, and drag it up a little.
we can add in a cylinder to use for the tree trunk. I'll hit S to scale,
Window.
Shift Z to make it skinnier, and then SZ to make it a little taller, and I'll
Yes. Right. Shift Z to make it a little taller. And let's move it so it's in line. SZ, so it's even a little taller. Look at that tree. That's a tree, all right. Could one say that that was in the center? Yes.
Also, hit G and Z to drag it up a little like that. Now let's select all of these with click and drag, hit errors on the internet. People like to use it to test things out because it's a little more complex than the other options in here. Anyway, if we add in a cube and don't do anything else, now we have a separate collection called tree, and then we can add in a cylinder.
I need to remember to be clicking on Blender when I hit any number button whatsoever. Otherwise, I will destroy everything. Okay. Yes. This needs to be a little bit smaller, shall we say. Like that big? Then we can just move it up. Hey, that's pretty cute. Should probably actually go to bed now. Have fun and thanks for streaming. Well, thanks for stopping in, man. Glad you picked up some tips. Watch the video. I'm sure it'll be a review for you, but who knows? Some of this stuff is like incredible. And make sure to save. All right.
To use for the tree trunk. I'll hit S to scale, Shift Z to make it skinnier, and then SZ to make it a little taller. And I'll also hit G and Z to drag it up a little like that. Now let's select all of these with click and drag. Hit M to move it to its own collection, and we can add a new collection called Tree and hit OK. You can see over here now we have a separate collection called Tree.001, and that's because we already had a tree collection. So we can't have two collections that are named the same thing. And if you try, it'll just name it a little differently like that. Let's go to Material Preview and make sure that these actually have colors. So with all of these selected, let's Shift select one of these icospheres, go to Material Properties right here, and click the drop.
Okay. Select objects. We've selected one of the icospheres. Green one, and then it's Control L link materials, and then we can change this material back to the tree trunk brown.
Down and add green right here. Now we can hit Control L because everything is still selected, and press link materials. So everything will turn green. We just want to select this one and change this one to brown. And I'll go back into solid view. If we want to reset the transform for all of these objects, we can select them and press Alt G to reset the location, Alt R to reset the rotation, and Alt S to reset the scale. If you do this with the N panel open on the item tab, you can see these values changing. Let's back up though, because what if you want some of these objects to stay the way they are in a more permanent way? For that you can hit Control A, and this will let you apply the location, rotation, the scale, or all of them. If I apply the scale of this one, you can see over here the scale was reset to 1, but our object looks the same. So this is like the new default scale now, and if we try to reset it with Alt S, it will always go back to this shape. This was only for the scale though, so we can still reset the location and the rotation. Applying the location will move the origin point to the center of the world, and you'll see these values change to 0. And applying the rotation will set these values to 0, but the object will stay looking like it's rotated.
Okay. What was that? Control A? Yeah, okay. All transforms. So now if we go into the item properties, everything is zeroed out. That's pretty interesting. So now for this item, this is our fundamental shape. Look at this. We've got some things going on here.
There are many reasons to apply or to not apply the transforms, enough so that I made a whole video about it a while back. Sometimes your scene can get hard to navigate when you have a bunch of objects. So you can hide objects by selecting them and hitting H. If you have an eye icon in the outliner, you'll notice it toggle for objects that are hidden, and you can show them again by clicking the icon or by pressing Alt-H. Shift-H will hide everything except for what you have selected, and again, this is nice when you have a ton of things in your scene, and you can bring everything back with Alt-H. You can find all of these options under Object, Show/Hide. Keep in mind that when objects are hidden, they still appear when you render unless you toggle the camera icon off. Similar to Shift-H, you can hit / on the number pad, and this will isolate the selected object. And you can exit this by hitting / again. Blender calls it Local View, and you can also find it here under View, Local View, Toggle Local View. This works when you have multiple objects selected also. Let's select this and move it to the side. And for the next example, let's make a roof for a house.
Okay. Let's select the tree. Just shove it over here. All right. Let's select the fence and just shove it over here. Let's select the island and shove it over here. I just want a nice clean workspace in the center here. All right, rooftop.
The roof to be slanted, so let's hit Shift-A to add in a mesh, and we'll add in a cylinder. Now this is circular, so let's open up this panel over here and change the vertice count all the way down to 3. And you can see now that it's a triangle. So let's just rotate this on the X by 90 degrees, so you can hit RX 90 and then enter. I hit 1 to...
Oh, okay. I see. RX 90, enter. Hit 1 to look from the front. It's a triangle.
Look from the front, and I'll hit G, Z to drag it up, and I'll hit N to open up the side panel, and I want all of these dimensions to be 2, so I'll just select.
Okay. So select G, Z, drag it up, open up the side panel, select all 2. Beautiful.
All of them and hit 2. Let's hit SZ and then 0.5, and that will scale it down by half. Then we can.
Okay. SZ 0.5.
And hit enter. So I think the slope is a little better now. Let's add in a cube now with Shift-A, Mesh, Cube, and I'll hit SX, and we can scale this down to make it skinnier this way. And I'm going.
All right. SX. Oh, wrong one. SX. A little skinnier. Let's move this up. Looking good.
I'm going to put this on top of the roof. So let's hit 1 again to look from the front, and we can drag this up here and rotate it.
Oh, I see. This is not the bottom. This is the chimney. All right, 1. Oh, we're still in material view. Let's look at the nice view. All right. Scale on the X. Make it nice and skinny. Grab and drag.
With R until it kind of matches the slope over here. So if we decide that this cube needs to be a little bit longer, it being at an angle is a bit of a problem now. If we
1, move it up, then we can R 45 or negative 45. R negative 45. Beautiful.
we hit S and X to scale it on the X-axis, it gets long, but it also gets thicker. This is because all of the transformations are global by default. And what I mean by this is that when we scale something on the x-axis, the object will always scale in the direction of this red line in our world. That's the global x-axis. We can scale this on what's called the local x-axis by hitting S to scale, X, and then X again. And if you look up here, it'll even tell you whether it's global or local. And this seems like it's making it thicker, so let's try hitting Z and then Z again. And it seems like that's pushing it in the right direction now. So I'll make this a little smaller and then left click to confirm it. You can do this with...
Okay. So we want to scale along the Z, local Z. I see.
Moving, rotating, or scaling, and for any axis. So if we wanted to, we could just drag this up and eyeball it, or we could move it on the local Z axis with G, Z, and then Z again. When you transform something locally, Blender is looking at the object to see if it's already rotated, and moving it according to that instead of following the axis line that we can see in our world. When you toggle into local transform, Blender will even make a line appear to show you the direction you're moving it on. Another way to transform locally is with this drop-down at the top. It's global by default, but you can switch it to a few other things, including local. Let's make this house look a little more complete. Let's select this top of the roof and hit S, Y, and then we can scale it out a little like that.
Okay. So grab ZZ, move it up the side, but we also need to scale ZZ. We need to make it a little bit bigger so it looks nice. And then scale Y to make it a little bit juicier.
Let's duplicate this for the other side with Shift D, R, Z, and 180 to flip it around 180 degrees on the Z axis. And then we can just move it over here. Let's add in a cube with Shift A, and this will be for the bottom part of the house.
Okay. Let's see if I can do that. So we made our little roofy roof. And then we're going to duplicate, rotate on the Y 180 degrees. No. Duplicate, rotate on the local Y 180 degrees. No, how about 90 degrees? There we go. And then scooch it on over. Look at that. Little roof for a little house.
And let's hit G and Z and just move it up until it's in place.
All right. Add a cube. Oh. GZ. Almost got it perfect. That. Thing o' beauty.
Let's duplicate this also with Shift D and move it up here to where the roof is meeting at the top. And I'll just scale this down. I want to make sure that it's covering these parts right here. And when we get it a good size, let's hit S and Y and we'll just scale it out a little further to kind of cover up some of those parts. When I showed how to set the...
Okay. Duplicate on the Z, move the origin up so it's in the center, scale it down so we're covering those points. Maybe scale it down a little bit more. And then scale along the Y. Boom. That's cute. Maybe we want to scale it a little bit larger so it covers up that thing as well. And then we want to scale it on the Y. Beautiful.
the origin with right click, I said I'd talk more about what the 3D cursor is. The 3D cursor is this crosshair looking thing in the middle, and it can be used for all sorts of things. We can move it by holding shift and right clicking. Now if we want, we can move the origin point over here just like before by selecting this, right click, set origin to 3D cursor. We can also move the 3D cursor with this tool over here, and again hit T to see these if you can't. This tool lets you left click to play.
Now the origin of this shape set origin to 3D cursor. Now the origin of this shape is wild. It's around the 3D cursor. I see. Let's just undo that. Shall we?
It. Another way is in the N panel. Under View, there is a section for changing the location and the rotation. I like to reset the 3D cursor with Shift S, and you can choose Cursor to World Origin.
Shift S is how you change selection and cursor. Cursor to World Origin.
And it will place it where the axis lines meet. Now let's move our origin point back with right click, set origin to 3D cursor. You can also use the Shift S menu to move the cursor to an object or to move an object to the cursor. And this is really useful when it comes to modeling. So the origin is the pivot point by default, but you can change that by hitting period. Not the one on the numpad, but the one over here. And you can...
There's two different periods, must remember.
Find these options up here also. The ones I use most are median, individual origins, and 3D cursor. Median is what we've been using, and it'll use the origin point as the pivot point unless you have multiple objects selected. Then it will pivot around a point in between all of them. And that's where this line is leading to. And the pivot point also affects scaling, so it'll scale from that point. Hit period again, and individual origins makes it so when you have multiple things selected, they will rotate or scale separately.
Okay. All right, let's select a bunch of things first off, and then scale it. Makes sense. Scaling from the median point. But if we hit the period button, they're scaling from the 3D cursor. All right. So now if they're scaling from the median point, you can see it's from here. Slightly different. And we can scale from individual origins. Okay, well, that's enough of that. Scaling. This is what we call a deconstructed house. You only buy them at fancy real estate offices. Wait a minute. No. Aren't all houses sold as deconstructed houses? I guess if they're new. Man, the restaurant industry has a lot to learn from the housing industry. They were doing deconstructed meals and tapas way before the restaurants ever thought of that stuff. I guess the next thing would be where you just rent your food. Yes, the new sensation. It's an overnight restaurant where you just rent your food, and then in the morning you take a big old dump, and that goes back into the food. No, that goes back into like the fuel into the food. Okay, new restaurant idea: food rental. I hope no capitalists are listening to this stream. That would be awful.
Then the 3D cursor. We'll use the 3D cursor as the pivot point.
Mhm.
Active element will make everything rotate or scale around the active selection, which will be highlighted in yellow. Bounding box is kind of like median, except it's more of an estimation, as if you put a big box around everything that's selected and chose the center of the box to pivot around. Only locations makes it so objects won't be scaled or rotated, and if you try to scale or rotate, they will just get pushed around. And again, if you want to leave this menu without selecting anything, you can just right-click. And when
I want to try only locations. Well, let's also do active element. Rotate around this guy. Rotate around this guy. Okay, useful, useful, useful. What's this? Only locations. Rotate. We're only changing the locations. We cannot change the rotation. Well, that's cool. Yo. Did my thing not happen? No, it did. Hello, Benji. How are you? Let me just make sure the shout out worked. Hello, Benji. Welcome so much. Thank you for joining us with your community. Oh, wait. You have two I's in your name. Shoot. Well, you're lucky that there's nobody named Benji. And you are Benji. Benji. Party up. Oh, wait. That's Nebji. Oh, my God. There we go. Hey, Benji. How's it going? Are you well? You've rated it just the right time. I was just pitching my new idea for a restaurant. It's called Food Rentals. Okay, it's an overnight restaurant where you eat your dinner, you spend the night at the restaurant, and in the morning you take a big old dump, and the restaurant takes your waste and uses it as fuel, maybe, right? Or some way they recycle it some way. It's called food rentals because you're just renting the food, really. It's an awful idea. I hope it never comes to pass. Don't. Hello, everyone. My name's Isaac Anzu. I'm a Chimera VTuber with some wild ideas about capitalism. I will come to your house and eat you if you make this thing into reality. Anyway, glad to hear the Warframe grind is going well. What's the goal of the Warframe grind? Is it cosmetics or just unlockable content? Because I'm getting to the point, so I'm playing a lot of Deep Rock Galactic, and I'm getting to the point where I almost have all the overclocks. It's kind of insane. Catching up is the goal. That's fair. That's fair. I'm in that. I have a hiatus grind on that with Guild Wars 2. I was in the middle of my catching up grind, and then I decided to stop, and I haven't gone back to it since. These need to be moved to a new collection called House. Okay. But in DRG, I'm almost caught up with all of the overclocks. And after you get all the overclocks, there's really nothing left to do in the game except for grinding for cosmetics. So, yeah. What do I do? I guess the answer is I play Deep Rock Galactic with friends when they want to play Deep Rock Galactic, right? Because it's a fun game. And I think that's what it's going to become. It's just a nice party game. It's a nice chill night with the homies game. But there's no longer any need to grind. And that's the true power. All
When
right.
you're done with only locations, make sure that you turn it off and set it back to median point. Let's select the house and move it to the side. And let's make a well with some of the tips that I just showed. So let's add in a...
Okay. So today's my first day in Blender. Did you know? The house is wildly disproportionate to those trees. But I guess that's okay. We're going through this tutorial right now. I don't know if we're going to get through this tutorial tonight. We're about halfway done with this tutorial. We're going to get as far as we can, and then the Zarkon sent me a bunch of tutorials to do as my next tutorials. So
cube
we're
with
gonna keep
Shift
going.
A and press S and X to scale it out like this.
But I do want to highlight something that I just kind of talked about. Can I select the? You know what? Let's just do this. Cube, boom. Okay. I do want to highlight something that I just mentioned. Like right now, I'm working on this thing, right? And this is a tutorial. I don't necessarily think I'm going to finish this tutorial tonight. However, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't do as much as I can, right? A lot of people get hung up on the idea of needing to do something from start to finish. But if you can chunk things, if you can separate them into smaller chunks, then you can get a lot more accomplished because you have like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. If you can do things in 5-minute chunks, my God, you'll get so much more accomplished.
Until it's a little more shaped like a brick, and then we can scale it down to be quite a bit smaller. Let's...
All right, we're making a brick. Let's scale on the X. Is this a good brick shape? That's better, isn't it? And then scale it down. Make you small.
Also go into material preview mode and add a gray color to this. So we can click the new button, name this gray, and just make this a gray color. Now I'll go back and
Let's just... Looking spicy. Gray. Do you spell gray with an E or an A? Gray or gray?
to solid view. Press period to change the pivot point to the 3D cursor, and then I'll hit 7 to look from the top. And what we're gonna do is move the brick on the Y axis a little with G and Y, and I'll
Okay. Period. Set the pivot point to 3D cursor. Look from the top. Grab and move it along the. Grab this. Move it along the Y. He moves it a little further. GY.
create a circle of bricks now by duplicating with Shift D, and before I press anything else, hit R to rotate around the 3D cursor, and I'll rotate it by 30 degrees by typing in 30 and pressing enter. Now we can repeat this action with Shift R until our circle is complete. Let's look from a different...
Okay. So duplicate R30. Okay. So he moved this a little closer. Duplicate, rotate by 30 degrees. Perfect. And then we just go repeat, 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 repeat.
different angle now. Select all of these, hit Shift D and then Z to move it up on the Z axis until it looks like it's resting on the top.
Okay. Duplicate on the Z axis. We're resting.
Sure all of these are still selected and hit R, Z, and 15. That will rotate it so they're staggered about halfway, or you can
All right, select these. R along the Z, 15.
just hit R and Z and then eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now let's make this a little taller by selecting everything, hit Shift D and then Z again, and we can move this up once more. And if we want to make it even taller, we can hit Shift R to add 2 more layers like that. If any of this...
All right, select all. Shift D, Z. Move it up. Shift R. Looking real good.
was overwhelming, don't worry too much. All of this gets easier with practice. Now we can make it
It
look
gets
like there's
easier
water
with
in the well by adding a
practice.
cylinder with Shift A. Make sure that it has enough vertices. I'll add 16. Scale it with S so that it fits between the bricks, G and Z to move it up. And we're still using the 3D cursor right here as the pivot point, so we can hit S and Z and it will scale towards the pivot point like that.
Oh, hell yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's scale it. Shift Z. There we go. Maybe not that much. Scale Shift Z. Yeah, like that much. We can move it up. And then we're still using the pivot point as the thing of origin. So we just do that and holy shit, looks so good.
And this is how we can change the water level. I'll change the pivot point back with period and we can change it to median point. And now go back to material preview and we'll just change this to a blue color for water. When we move an object with G while holding...
Yeah, let's add a new material. A nice watery blue. Blue 2. Because we have blue 1. Yeah, hell yeah.
Control, it snaps to 1 meter increments, and you can change those snapping options up here. First, if you click this magnet, your objects will snap all the time, not only when you're holding control. And for the increment option, I like turning on absolute grid, which makes it so that it always snaps to a point on the grid. I'm gonna start another house to explain these options, so let's select the well and just move it to the side. Let's press Shift A to add in another cube, and I'll hit G, Z, and 1 to move it up by 1 meter. Then I'll...
All right, we're working on house 2 now. So let's select all this, move it to the well collection. And then shove it to the side.
Hit Shift D to duplicate and I'll drag it to the side, and S, Shift Z, and make it skinnier, kind of like a pillar. So if we set the snapping to vertex and hold control while moving with G, we can snap to the points of this cube.
Okay, all right. Add a cube. Duplicate a cube. Scale on this axis. Make it skinny. Okay.
talk more about vertices moving skinnier to duplicate, and I'll drag it to the side, and S, Shift Z, and make it skinnier, kind of like a pillar. So if we set the snapping to vertex and hold Control while moving with G, we can snap to the points of this cube. I'll talk more about vertices, edges, and faces in the next video, but basically each corner has a vertex. These lines are the edges, and faces are these flat planes on the sides. And this is set to closest, which means the closest point on our selected object is what is going to snap. So that would be this point right here. If instead we move it up here, and then hit G and hold Control to snap it, now this is the closest point, and you can see that it's acting a little differently. The other useful one is center, which makes it snap to the origin point instead. So let's select the pillar and hit Shift D to duplicate, and hold Control while you move this around to snap it to each corner. So Shift D, hold Control, and Shift D and hold Control. No.
Okay. So vertices snap with center. Got it. But let's try snap with closest first. So we're hitting G, moving it around, but now we hold Control. We're snapping. Let's just move this back. Oh, I see. Oh, it's the closest to the mouse, not the center. Got it. Okay, all right. Glad that I tried that out. Okay. His look a little thicker, so maybe let's scale a little thicker. And now let's duplicate. Yeah, right. Duplicate and duplicate. Look at that.
Let's select all of these with Shift
Minecraft
and left click, hit G, Z, and 1 to move them up 1 meter.
Okay. Select them all with Shift and left click, G, Z, 1, enter.
So they're aligned with the rest of the cube.
Looks
Align
cute.
rotation to target makes your selected object rotate based on what you're snapping it to. Out of all of the things you can snap to, I probably use increment and face project the most. If we set this to face project and closest, it's pretty good for when you want to place objects onto the surface of another object, so we can move this with G and hold Control. And it'll snap the nearest face onto the object that you're choosing. You can also align...
All right, let's try that. Let's just snap to face project. Duplicate this, and then closest. Okay, that's interesting. It's like snapping it inside. Ah, look at that. Okay, that's cool. So you can set it over here. You can set it over here. Set it over here. Neat. Just make this an elephant or a tank. Okay, let's just delete that.
Rotation to target with this, and I changed it to center also. And you can see now that it's rotating differently for each of these faces. Align
That's so
rotation
cool.
to target will be a little more clear when you're using something like a cone. So let's hit Shift A and add in a cone. And let's just bring this over to the well so I can show you a little more clearly. Hit period on the numpad, and I'll scale this down. And when I hit G and hold Control, you can see that it's always going to stick straight out.
All right. Add a cone. Drag it closer to the well. Make it very small. All right. And then G, Control. And indeed, we have our cone that kind of like rotates around.
Let's delete this cone now with X. Let's select our house that we're working on and hit period on the numpad to zoom in closer. And let's give this house a roof and some bricks. So let's just select this and duplicate it with Shift D. And I'll move it up with G, Z, and I'll hold Control, and that will snap it to the top face. And
He's got center on, face project. Okay, so D, G, Control, just snap it. There we go.
And again, I have this set to center, and I'll turn off align rotation to target for now. Now let's hit S and Z. We can scale this down a little. S, Shift Z to scale it out.
So scale Z. So we make it a reasonable size. And then scale Shift Z, make it a reasonable width.
Past the pillars. Now let's duplicate this, and we're going to turn this into a brick. So I'll hold Control to snap it to the edge, and I'll just scale this down until I think it looks like a good size. So that seems like a good width, but I want to scale it up. So S and Z, like that. And I'll make it flatter with S and Y. Now I'll press 1.
Okay. So we duplicate, snap to this face. Boom. Scale. I guess like this, and scale this, and scale this. I mean, it was a different process than what he used, but we got there. We got there.
On the numpad to look from the front, and we can just move this with G to wherever we want it, and hit Shift D to duplicate for if we.
Okay. We've got brick. So let's G, move it up there. And as long as we're holding Control, it will stay aligned to the face. Shift D. And I mean, we can also use Shift Y. So duplicate, stay holding Control, duplicate, hold Control, duplicate, hold Control.
We want multiples. I'll just put a few in the corner like that. Now I'll look from the side and Shift D and hold Control to snap it to this other side. Now we're gonna.
All right. Shift D, hold Control. Snapped. And rotate. Oh, wait. Rotate on the Z axis 90 degrees. Yeah.
I have to rotate this, so R, Z, and 90, and we can hit 3 to look from the side, but all of this stuff is in the way, so let's actually just select everything right here and hit slash on the numpad, and that.
Beautiful.
Now we'll isolate it so that we can't see anything else. So we can hit 3 now and do the same thing over here with G to move it around and, you know, Shift D to duplicate. Let's select one from the front and Shift D and hold Control to snap it to the back side. Now we can
Okay, let's add some more bricks, shall we? Duplicate. Put a couple down here. Grab one from over here, duplicate it and snap it to here. Grab one from over here, duplicate it and snap it to this side. Hey, this is easy. I mean, it took us a second to get here. Look at this little bricky house.
can hit 1, and that's going to look from the front. So if we want to look from the other side, you can hit 1 and then 9, and that will flip the camera all the way around. Again, just Shift D, move these around to where you want. I'll hit 3 to select one of the bricks from this side so we don't have to rotate it, and go to the other side and hit Shift D.
There we go.
Control. Now, if you don't want to go into orthographic
Blender,
view by hitting 3.
Oh, we are learning Blender. Look at this cute hat that I have made. So far, this guy is teaching only the, was it the object mode? Let's select all, move these to a new collection called House 2. Look at all this cute stuff. Yeah, do you like Blender? You like Blender? I feel like this is the program of the future. It does 3D modeling. It does 2D stuff. It does sound. It does video editing. It does animation. I mean, when's Blender going to be able to do your taxes, right? When's Blender going to have a social media platform installed in it? It'll be everything. It'll be the new operating system. Why do you download Windows? To download Blender. That's going to be the paradigm, right? Who needs Windows? We have Blender. Anyway, a American dream.
Instead, you can just stay at an angle, and when you hit G to move it around, just make sure that you're holding Control at the same time, and it'll always snap to the surface right there. So let's hit Shift D, do the same thing, just make a few of these. And we can exit local view by hitting the slash on the numpad again. Sometimes you'll have a bunch of objects that belong together, and it makes sense that you would want to be able to move all of them at the same time. So instead of shift selecting each object, we can do something called parenting. Let's select all of these objects and
are we ready to learn about parenting? I don't know if I'm ready to become a parent. I've got a lot of things going on in my life right now.
shift select the big cube in the middle so that it's the active selection. Press Control P and set parent to object. Now if we go into X-ray mode, you can see all of these lines are connecting to our parent object right here. And if we move everything with G, all of the children will follow. And only the parent is selected when I'm doing this. In the outliner, we have a lot of objects right now, so you can actually find the object that you have selected by hovering over here and hitting period on the numpad. It works just like when you hit period in the viewport, but you have
look at that, look at that. Oh, and it's got all these parent objects. Oh, I see. We can go here, and then we can hover here and find this cube. Oh my gosh. Blender. So many good, convenient little tools. Actually legitimately cool.
to be hovering over the outliner. So in the outliner, all of the child objects will appear nested under the parent. You can also parent in the outliner by dragging and dropping an object onto another while holding shift. You can make any of these objects not be parented by selecting them and pressing Alt-P and selecting Clear Parent. If you try to parent one object to another and it's already a child that's been moved around, you might see it move when you don't want it to. So press Ctrl-P and select Keep Transform, and this should keep it in the same spot visually while changing the parent. It's the same with unparenting also, so if we select this and hit Alt-P and Clear.
Let's go back a second. You learned 3ds Max and Maya. Nice. I've heard Maya is very powerful. It's also like professional. And we're not professional here. We are amateur in the best possible sense of the word.
To our parent object right here. And if we move everything with G, all of the children will follow. And only the parent is selected when I'm doing this. In the outliner, we have a lot of objects right now, so you can actually find the object that you have selected by hovering over here and hitting period on the numpad. It works just like when you hit period in the viewport, but you have to be hovering over the outliner. So in the outliner, all of the child objects will appear nested under the parent. You can also parent in the outliner by dragging and dropping an object onto another while holding shift. You can make any of these objects not...
Okay, you can parent in the outliner. So let's find this cube. I don't think Blender's going that far yet. They've been open source for 3D software, and I love how they've come so far with their improvement. Yeah, I honestly, I was talking about this earlier. This entire tutorial is just in the object mode. Apparently there's other modes that we haven't even touched yet. And I think that is perfect, right? I don't need to know the other modes in order to learn how to do stuff in object mode, right? And the same is true with software. Like if you want to make music, you can make music in GarageBand. You can make music in BandLab. You don't need Ableton Live to make music. In the same way, I'm sure Maya has stuff that Blender can't do, but I can just do stuff in Blender, right? Okay, let's try parenting in the outliner. So we've got cube 1 and cube. Oh, this is our original cube. What the hell? Okay, so drag, shift, drop to set parent. Yeah. So now, if we move this, it moves by itself. But if we move this, they move together. How long have you been learning Blender? 2 hours and 40 minutes. A little bit longer than that. I had a friend walk me through some of the shortcuts and basic tools. But seriously, like this is the most I know about anything.
Not be parented by selecting them and pressing Alt-P and selecting Clear Parent. If you try to parent one object to another and it's already a child that's been moved around, you might see it move when you don't want it to. So press Ctrl-P and select Keep Transform, and this should keep it in the same spot visually while changing the parent.
Okay, let's try that. First off, let's hit Alt-P. We can clear parent and keep transformation. Got it. Cool. We can also, this item has already been made into a parent, but we can right, Control P, object, and then that moves with it. And we can Control P, keep transformation, right? Control P, object with transform, and still same thing, but connected. And then take this item, Alt P, clear parent. Did that work? No, probably not. let's try Alt P, clear parent inverse. That didn't work. Let's try this item, Alt P, clear parent. Now that works. I'm guessing, yeah, that works too. Okay. So let's just go back until these are working correctly again. Okay, cool.
The same with unparenting also, so if we select this and hit Alt-P and clear parent, you can see it snaps back to where it was originally. But if we want to unparent it and have it in the same spot, we can hit Alt-P and select clear and keep transformation. Now it's not a child anymore, but it's in the same spot. I'll hit Shift-Z to undo so it's parented again. Now, if you want to select all of the children of a parent, you can select the parent and hit the right bracket. And you can select the parent again by pressing the left bracket. If you hold...
Ah, okay. So let's oh wait. Select all this. Go into the context menu and just move this up. Okay. So select the parent, select all the children of the parent, just the parent. Nice. Okay.
Shift while doing this, the selection will expand to select the parent and the children. Parenting gets really complex, and it's used for a lot of different reasons, especially if you get into rigging and animating. Let's use all of the tips from this video to complete our scene. I'll tell you what I'm doing as I'm doing it, and at the end, I'll show you how to add a light and render an image. You can follow along if you'd like, but I also encourage you to try making something on your own. The more you practice all of this, the easier it will be, and the more natural it'll feel. Let's start by organizing some of these.
It's better to name your objects so you don't get things mixed up. That's true. I have them in collections over here, but they are all named cube and what have you. Let's go into render view. Okay, well, it looks like he's moving from object mode to render mode now. So why don't we spend this last little amount of time making something of our own. It looks like in that final scene he had a rock. So let's try thinking, how would we make a rock? We'll start with let's see. Start with an icosphere. This is a pretty good rock. Can we increase the subdivisions? Yes, we can. There we go. I suggest watching Blender Guru. I've heard of that one. Now there's a D20. I'm familiar with this. I have seen Blender Guru. There's another one with like a sword. My friend, the Zarkon, whom you know. You know Zarkon. Zarkon sent me one where he was doing all this sort of whatchamacallit, VTuber modeling, and so there's a lot of tutorials, and I think, okay, we can't go smaller than one, so maybe we don't want this. Maybe we want, let's try the UV sphere. Oh, it's kind of cute, isn't it? This is a pretty good rock shape. Maybe we do like this. There's a nice rock shape. Okay. So then let's rotate it a little bit along the Z. Rotate a little bit along the X. Lift it up a little bit. There we go. Maybe we can make a little pile of stuff. All right. So let's try doing the random transformation thing that he talked about. So let's say we duplicate and then just make a bunch of duplicates. Highlight them all. And then transform, randomize transform. Okay. We can change the scale even too to make them like slightly different shapes as well. All right. Let's make it a pile. So let's set the Z to 0. Right. We need to randomize the rotation more. I mean, look at that. That is a pile of rocks if I ever saw one. Do we have a gray? We do. And then link materials. Oh, look at that. Look at them rocks. That's pretty nice. What else should we put? What else are we going to put into this scene? Before we do that, though, new collection, rock pile. Okay. Let's just move this over here. What else should we put in the scene? He said to make some things yourself, so that's what we're doing. It's time to play. Also, I love this aesthetic. Very vaporwave. What else goes in a little cutesy outdoor scene like this? What about a little statue? What about a little statue? How fast can we make a statue? I bet we can make one pretty quick. Okay, let's make a pedestal. Duplicate that, move it up. Shrink it in. We still have snap to faces, right? On. Oh, we have snap to faces on centered. Snap with closest. Okay. So grab. Look at that. Okay. What should the statue be of? Well, first off, let's make it a little pillar. So let's duplicate on the Z. I guess we need to get a slightly different angle on it. Look how perfect this is. Okay, let's duplicate, grab on the Z. No, on the Z. Okay, well, I guess let's shift No, you know what? We're not going to use a cube. I know what we're going to do. We're going to use a cylinder. Hell yeah. Look at that. Shift Z to make it thicker. Shift Z to make it even thicker. What a nice hefty statue, don't we? All right, and then we can just duplicate on the Z axis. Look at that. Nice pillar. All right, what should go on the pillar? Well, I have an idea. We are going to duplicate this, move it upwards, then shift on the Z. Right, looking good. A little taller, a little wider. Okay. Now duplicate this. Wait, no, before we do that, snap with centers. Yeah. Perfect. No, we need Shift C. We want to make it thin. Looking good. Well, wait. Why don't we duplicate this first? On everything but the Z, right? Maybe some grasses? Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that next. Shift Z. Okay. And then we just shift select all these, making sure that one of the legs is our selected object. Snap to closest face. We do G, Z, and snap it right to the face. Beautiful. Okay. Two more things. We need a little, I guess we need a cone. We need to scale it way down. And then scale it along the Z axis. So it's a little long cone. Rotate it so it looks like a little tail, and then move it along this plane so that it sticks out of the butt like a little tail. Look at that. Let's duplicate this, move it up, move it forward, scale it down just a little bit. Let's rotate it, not along the Z axis, along the X axis. There we go. Cute. I guess we'll duplicate this. Move it over here. Up. Back. Let's do trackball rotation so we get a nice organic angle on that. Move it up a little bit. And then, how did he do this? Duplicate, rotate, Y 90. Or was it YY 45? That works. Then we move it over. And then we add a icosphere. Move it up. Scale it way down. Oh, wait. Before we move the icosphere, let's increase the number of subdivisions to 3. Scale it way down. Move it way up. Move it here. Scale it down again. Let's move it up a little bit. There. Dog statue. Okay. Now let's take all these objects. Not you. Let's make this the primary object. Control P, set parent to object. Great. M, N, dog statue. Okay. So now dog statue is all based around this object, and we can move it around as we like. So cool. Okay. Grass. Grass is going to be small. All right. How would we do grass? Probably the same way we did the flower petal. So let's start by adding the icosphere. Increase the subdivisions a little bit. Let's scale it along the z-axis. Make it nice and flat. Scale it along the y-axis. Make it nice and thin. All right, we've got a piece of grass here. I guess we could have done this along the proper axes and made it work properly. But let's see. Let's just scale it 90 degrees along the y. Okay. Excellent. Look at that. Scale that bad boy down. Move it up. Okay. And now let's wait. Yeah, no, let's move it up. Let's move it up. And then let's set origin to 3D cursor. Perfect. Now we can scale it from here. So now, why don't we copy, duplicate, repeat that a few times, select all of these, object, randomized transformation, no randomized locations. We don't want the randomization of the grass to be too much. But we want a nice 3D grass, so let's make the Z randomization a little bit more. Nice. Randomize the scale. Beautiful. Okay, so now what we do is we take that, duplicate it on everything but the Z-axis, repeat, move. No, let's do repeat or duplicate, move, duplicate, move, duplicate, move. And then we can rotate each of these. We can rotate each of these to give it a little bit of pizzazz. Wait, what did I just do? Rotate. There we go. Rotate. There we go. These two are still the same direction, aren't they? I kind of like those, so why don't we change this one's direction? Rotate. Yeah. There we go. We've got a little grass patch. Now if we select that, duplicate, 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 duplicate. Now we've got a bigger grass patch. Looks nice. All right. Let's take all these, add the, well, we don't want the ground grass color. So maybe we do like the darker grass color. I like that. Good. Then select them all again. Move to a new collection. Grass patch. Okay. Nice. Oh wait, we didn't do this properly. No, we just need grass and then Control L, link materials. Perfect. Oh, this was still selected, wasn't it? Okay. Gray. Select objects. Select objects. Link materials. Looking spicy. I'm sure that there's much better ways to do this, but look at us go. We're doing a thing. Hopefully we'll be able to make a nice little scene out of this, yeah? But that'll be for next time. Gosh, I'm already over time. Incredible. Well, Why don't we turn off my random Firefox thing? Why don't we go into Twitch and see who is streaming right now that I could potentially raid. Oh, well, Sussy Nunny is probably a great person to stream raid into, because they do Blender all the time. That said, we're gonna raid Board Brain. Let's raid! Because Board Brain's friend of the channel, and as cool as Nui is, I don't know her all that well, so it's a little scary. Okay. So, I'm going to start the raid and throw the raid message up in chat. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Thank you for all the tips and tricks. I hope that you learned something. I learned something. I learned a lot of shit. If you're still in chat, feel free to copy the raid message, and we can go off to visit the amazing stream of Board Brain. But until next time, next week we'll be back at this. We'll come back to this scene and we'll figure out what the hell we're doing. But thank you so much for joining. My name's Isaac Anzu. Please join me in raiding Board Brain, and I will see you next time. Farewell.